3, 2, 1, launch. Maverick is by far one of my all-time favorite roller coasters, and it's pretty hard to deny why it is. If I could only describe Maverick in one word, I would definitely say exhilarating. And I'm pretty sure most of you would agree with me. This style of ride was kind of the turning point for how parks wanted to attract visitors and tourists. Cedar Point back in 2003, when they built Top Thrill Dragster, they had the intention of building the tallest and fastest coaster in the world. Until shortly 2 years later, King Naka was built, which completely won up Top Thrill Dragster. So a few years later, Cedar Point, they were looking to build their next roller coaster. They had kind of an option. Should they go for the tallest coaster in the world again, or try something completely different? With this choice, they built Maverick, a ride that was only 105 feet tall, which is actually 1/4 the height of Top Thrill Dragster. I just find that kind of funny. But once opening day hit for Maverick, no one knew what to expect, but this would be the birth of the first ever Blitz coaster, which in my opinion is one of Intamin's most proud and outstanding achievements, because these Blitz models are breathtaking. Every element on the ride is bam 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 one after another, weaving through tight turns after a 95-degree drop, sharp ejector hills, an incredible launch, inversions, stangle dive, S-bend. My point being, Maverick was ahead of its time, and I would love for there to be more of these coasters. Currently now, before Pantheon, there are 8 of them in operation. 2 years later, after Maverick, there was ispeed at Mirabilandia. 2011, Cheetah Hunt was built. It was a smaller family Blitz coaster at Busch Gardens Tampa. Soon later, starting in 2014, almost every single year after that, another Blitz coaster was built. Some notable Blitz coasters in the last few years would be something like Taiga at Linamaki, Terran Fantasialand, Steel Dolphin Ocean Park. These are just only a few that we've seen in the last few years. But where will we see the next Blitz coaster? That, I have to say, is pretty hard to figure out. If you pull up a diagram for every Blitz coaster that's been installed, there's basically no correlation between park, country, chain. It's really just rolling dice to see which park's gonna buy one of these models. But regardless of that, I want to see where we're gonna see the next Blitz coaster based on trends, which park may want to buy one, and any kind of development we've heard so far. In other words, I'm just trying to say, don't take everything I mentioned to heart. Right now, these are just my predictions on where we may see a Blitz coaster, hopefully sometime in the future after Pantheon and this Velocicoaster going to Universal. Now, before I mention any parks that this coaster may go to, I first have to see, is there still a demand for the Blitz coaster? As in, did Intamin already saturate the market for the Blitz? If you don't know what I'm referring to, I'm trying to say, is there a park that's willing to put its foot forward to buy Intamin's product? The short answer is yes. Launch coasters over the years have become a hot ticket item. Almost every company has some kind of launch coaster in their portfolio. Vekoma is a big example, and B&M may somehow come into the mix with their surf coaster model. So Intamin needs to find a way to stay ahead of the curve and find a way to appeal and sell their service over another company. That is how the Blitz coaster will reign supreme. Intamin has been known for their launch coasters and created a brand because of it. What gives Intamin so much traction is their previous experience with their Accelerator coasters. Believe it or not, these products were one of Intamin's most successful coasters. They may have been a maintenance nightmare, but they have sold an astonishing 14 of these. That may not sound like a lot, but if you compare that to every other model Intamin has created, most of them were either discontinued, a one-time deal, or only a few parks wanted to buy a certain product. When they finally discontinued the Xcelerator launch system, they try to become more familiar with LSMs and implement it more than their previous experiences, creating the newest generation of Intamin launch coasters by using it mainly in their Blitz coasters. Intamin has been using the Blitz coaster to try and stay moderate and or above their competitors. I'd say Intamin, they've put some of the most time, attention, research into the Blitz coaster. Just look at a comparison between one of their oldest Blitz coasters and something like Pantheon. You can definitely see the level of innovation that has changed over time. Now they established there is a demand, and how Intamin, they've been trying to improve the model in order to appeal to a whole other range of new buyers. Where are we going to see another Blitz coaster? Like I said earlier, it's pretty hard to figure out considering there's been little to no consistency of what parks have been buying this kind of coaster. But I think it's safe to say that we're not going to see another one in America after Pantheon or Velocicoaster anytime soon. Only because I personally do not know which park would get a Blitz coaster. SeaWorld would be the obvious choice because of their recent relationship with Intamin. However, they're in a dire money situation right now, along with the fact that both Busch Gardens parks, they already have a Blitz coaster, and for their SeaWorld parks, they have other things in the works, like SeaWorld Orlando with the B&M Surf Coaster, which is most likely a launch coaster, SeaWorld San Antonio being rumored for a Power Splash, SeaWorld San Diego expecting another multi-launch coaster. There's a high possibility most of these projects are cancelled or delayed, so what hope does that leave for a Blitz Blitz coaster. Now what about Cedar Fair? They haven't installed a Blitz coaster since Maverick, and this would be a nice friendly introduction for Cedar Fair and Intamin to work together again. Although I'm assuming if Cedar Fair was to build a Blitz coaster from Intamin, it would probably be something like Pantheon, because just of how unique it is, it would work well at a park like Kings Island. But I assume Cedar Fair, they would look at Pantheon to see how Busch Gardens Williamsburg would deal with it, like how maintenance goes, how much people like the ride and attracts attendance. However, of course, this will never happen until Pantheon finally opens its gates, and if Cedar Fair, they start working with Intamin again, and they haven't worked with them since I-305. America, to me, just doesn't have the parks right now that are willing to buy a Blitz coaster. The international market is definitely the place where Intamin is able to sell this. I mean, I'm not wrong. Europe really is the only place that is buying the Blitz coasters. Yet, I do think a different continent's gonna get a Blitz coaster before some amusement park in Europe. It's Asia, and it's in China. And I think it's gonna be some kind of Scenic Park. If you don't know what a Scenic Park is, it's an amusement park chain in China owned by the Scenic China Holding Corporation. These are parks that have been sprouting out all across the country since 2015. In the course of only 5 years, they built 15 parks, and almost every single one of them, they include a staple attraction, that big signature ride that makes people come. And almost every single time, Scenic Holdings have had Intamin build that coaster. These parks are literally like Intamin's testing ground when they want to try a new concept. Look at all their parks. Guangzhou Scenic Land, they own Dueling Dragons. Nanjing Scenic Land, they have Coaster Through the Clouds, the tallest coaster in China. Finally, Hefei Scenic Land, they have Soaring with Dragon, the actual inspiration for Pantheon. Now, why do I think one of these parks will get a Blitz coaster? That's because one of these coasters were supposed to open in 2020. It was going to a place called Wanda City, which itself was supposed to open in 2020. And get this, was supposed to be a near or exact clone of Terran. No joke, China is cloning Terran and putting it in Chengdu. The reason I would see Intamin install more Blitz coasters in Scenic parks is because the Scenic parks, they interact with Intamin pretty much on a daily basis because of how many rides they've installed. I guarantee when they start building up these parks to add more roller coasters, most likely it will be some kind of Intamin. So a Blitz coaster may not be that far off. And who knows, since Scenic parks, they clearly like to experiment with Intamin with new ride designs, perhaps there can be something like a dueling Blitz coaster. That would be sweet. Of course, these are just my opinions on where we may see the next Blitz coaster, whether it's in China or some European park is already planning one for some time in the future. If you guys have any idea where the next Blitz coaster may be, leave that down below. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. If you enjoyed the video and liked the content, please consider being a subscriber, and I'll see you guys in the next one.